Hello and welcome to another Ruislip Lido Railway video. Today we're not at the Lido, in fact we're not even in London. So where are we and why are we here? We're in Worcestershire, we're at the Evesham Country Park, home to the Valley Railway Adventure, formerly known as the Evesham Vale Light Railway. And we're here for a very exciting reason. So let's go and find out why. So we can now finally tell you the exciting reason why we're here. After a lot of work over the last few months, the Ruislip Lido Railway Society are now the proud owners of a second steam locomotive. And here is the engine. So welcome to the RLR fleet, Dougal. A lot has happened to get us to the position where we're now able to announce the purchase of Dougal. Dougal won't be appearing immediately at the RLR. There is some work to do to convert the locomotive from 15-inch gauge here at Evesham down to our 12-inch gauge, as well as some other general overhaul works and upgrading works to modern RLR standards. There'll be more about this later in the video. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Dougal and how the RLR came to be the new owners of this lovely steam locomotive. So we've been looking for a second steam locomotive for a while now. We've had a look at a few different options and Dougal became available and was identified that with a little bit of work, Dougal would be suitable for use at Ruislip. Dougal was built in 1970 as an 062 tank locomotive at Western Road Works in Stratford-upon-Avon by Seven Lamb, not too far here from Evesham. Dougal was based on an earlier locomotive, Muffin, an 060 tender locomotive, which was built by Berwin Engineering in association with David Kirwan. Muffin was based at the Longleat, what became Longleat Safari Park, 15-inch gauge railway, operated by Les Anderson of Mini Rail Limited, who ordered Dougal as a second steam locomotive for Longleat in 1970. David Kirwan, of course, is a very well-known locomotive manufacturer and designer in miniature railway locomotives, responsible for hundreds of locomotives over the years. And one of the other associations between Seven Lamb and David Kirwan that produced locomotives was the modified Western class, of which we have Roberts, one of our other locomotives, as one of those locomotive types already. In 1974, Dougal, along with most of the other stock from Longleat, was briefly transferred to Les Anderson's project, the Axe and Lime Railway, a 15-inch gauge line on the disused standard gauge Lyme Regis branch. At this point, the locomotive was briefly renamed to Axe. However, the project didn't take off and the locomotive returned to Longleat under the new operator there, John Hayton, and the original name of Dougal was restored at that point in 1975. After a further spell of service at Longleat, Dougal was sold to Jim and Helen Shackle, who were the operators here at Evesham. Sold in 2004. Jim and Helen Shackle built the railway here at Evesham in 2002. Dougal was replaced at Longleat by an Exmoor locomotive, John Hayton, which in a roundabout sort of way is now based here at Evesham as Anne, which has just gone past us on the main line there. Dougal initially saw use here at Evesham as a tank locomotive in its original form. In 2009, some significant work was undertaken on the locomotive to turn it into a tender locomotive, as you see today. This saw a slight reduction in the length of the frames to accommodate the new driving position, and the main other work was the new boiler, which is to a far larger diameter than the original. Some other items as well. The smoke box door is quite a historic 15-inch gauge item. It was carried at one point on the former Fairborn locomotive Count Louis. Dougal was sold to a private owner in 2009. It still remained based here at Evesham and was used alongside the other locomotives, most of which still operate here today. The railway changed hands in 2012 and again in 2024. The locomotive has been out of use now since December 2024. This was due to the original 1970s driving wheels, which reputedly came from a rail-mounted crane, being out of compliance with modern standards here at Evesham, and thus Dougal has not seen use for a little bit of time now. Obtaining a second steam locomotive for use at Ruislip has been a long-term aim of the Society. Since our current steam locomotive, Mad Bess, returns to traffic in early 2023 following a 10-year overhaul, we worked very hard to train more of our crew on Mad Bess. Hopefully we'll end up in a position very soon where we'll have over 20 of our drivers qualified on steam. We had a look at a few options for other locomotives, some of which we looked into in detail and didn't quite prove right for us. When we became aware of Dougal's potential availability, we undertook some further studies and identified that Dougal fits within our very restricted loading gauge through our platforms, and with a bit of work would make an ideal locomotive for use at Ruislip. After making further progress on the project, we were in a position in early August to come and steam test Dougal after hours here after the service at Evesham had finished. This gave us a chance to test Dougal on a 1 in 56 gradient here at Evesham from a standing start, hauling an equivalent load of 7 or 8 of our coaches at Ruislip. And this showed us that the performance locomotive was suitable for our needs, and also gave us a general idea of the condition of the other items on the locomotive and things that may need attention or adapting for use at Ruislip. Following some further discussions based upon our testing, the expenditure to purchase the locomotive was agreed in late September by the rest of our Society directors, and contracts were signed to pass the ownership to the Ruislip Railway Society on the 7th of October. So buying the engine is one thing. Actually getting it into a condition where it can be used at Ruislip requires a bit of work. So very soon the locomotive will leave Evesham and go to our appointed contractor for the gauge conversion and other upgrading works, and a few minor issues to resolve as well. So let's have a quick look at some of these pieces. The boiler dates from 2009 and from what we can tell is in a very good condition. We were very impressed with the steam production capabilities during the steam testing here at Evesham. The tubes are original from 2009 and the ticket expires in May 2029, so we should have hopefully about 3 years of use at Ruislip before the 10-year overhaul is due. This offsets quite nicely with our steam locomotive Mad Bess. The overhaul on that will be due in 2033, so it gives us quite a nice offset between the two locomotives. Being a coal-fired locomotive, we will need a spark arrest to be fitted as well to the smoke box. There is no provision for spark arresting at the moment. That would be quite a key thing for us at Ruislip, obviously with our woodland route. The cylinders on Dougal are 4 1/4 by 5-inch cylinders, slightly smaller than Mad Bess's cylinders, which are 5 by 7 cylinders, slightly overscale on Mad Bess. The valve gear is Baker, appears to be in quite good order, all original from the locomotive in 1970. Some work will be done to improve, hopefully, the lubrication to the cylinders and also improve the way they're attached to the frames, just based on some observations during our steam testing here at Evesham. The driving wheels, as previously mentioned, are life expired. They are from 1970, reputedly from a rail-mounted crane with double flanges on either side, one of which has obviously been machined off to work on a railway. The new wheel sets will be made to 12-inch gauge from the current 15-inch gauge, of course. New axles, new wheel sets, fitted to the existing fly cranks. The wheels are 12-inch diameter wheels currently, and they will be again with our new wheel sets. We did look at having smaller wheel sets to give an increase in tractive effort, but we've gone for 12 inches in the end. The braking arrangements also will change. Currently, the locomotive is handbrake only on the driving wheels and air brakes on the tender. That will change. The handbrake will be removed and the tender brakes will be removed. And we will have new brake rigging and a new brake setup for air braking on the driving wheels on the loco and no braking on the tender, which is the setup with our steam locomotive Mad Bess. The service brake and the handbrake function will be provided by a new Wabco valve, which incorporates a parking brake function as well with a quick release, which works very nicely on our steam loco Mad Bess currently. The pony truck under the cab here will be modified with a new axle for re-gauging and a revised A-frame which holds the axle onto the frames. It's currently very difficult and messy to empty the ashpan, and the feedback we've had is that it could be certainly improved, the ashpan design. Re-gauging makes it even more challenging obviously to use the ashpan because the space between the wheels is narrowed where the ashpan sits. So this is a very key area of work for the project, we feel. Quite a lot will change with the tender. The tender is from 2009, it's in a good condition overall. The axles will be modified to re-gauge 12 inches for our railway, of course. On the axles we will fit a sprocket to drive an alternator, which will power batteries to feed dual electric compressors for the air brakes, and also a sprocket for the speedometer output as well for the driver. The current braking arrangements on the locomotive are a small battery compressor underneath the cab seat here in the tender and an axle-driven compressor between the frames at the front of the locomotive. That will both be removed, and the air supply for the locomotive will be provided by dual compressors which are running off of batteries, large leisure batteries charged by an alternator from the tender axle. The cab on Dougal is currently set up really for single person operation. So our steam locomotive Mad Bess, we always double crew, the driver on the left and the fireperson on the right hand side, and the controls are arranged to make that as easy as possible for the crew. So we'll make some modifications here. There'll be some improvements to the damper on the bottom left. The pole reverser will move most likely to the driver's side over here. The handbrake wheel obviously will be removed as well, as previously mentioned. The water valves for the injectors are currently located on the tender, which is quite nice if you're operating by yourself, but it's probably more easy to have them on the loco footplate. Whether they're both on one side or still on alternate sides will be decided further down the line. We may have separate feed valves for the tender tank and the loco tanks. We may have them all balanced together. We haven't decided that yet, but there'll be some modifications made to suit our operation and just make it as ergonomic as possible for our crew. A larger part of the work to be completed by our contractor is the replacement of both side tanks on the locomotive. Externally, they look quite good, the side tanks, but internally at the bottom they don't hold water, in quite a poor condition internally, so they'll need to be replaced. Currently they're out of use. The water for the locomotive is all supplied from the tender. The tender has quite a large capacity at 360 litres, which is 40 litres more than Mad Bess's tender. The locomotive tanks, when in use, hold 280 litres combined, which is again 40 litres more than Mad Bess's saddle tank. A round trip at Ruislip uses around about 110 litres of water on Mad Bess, so even with just the tender we have enough capacity. But having water in the side tanks on the loco is helpful for traction, of course. Another quarter of a tonne of weight on the wheels is always a good thing. And we don't think it's right to fill them with sand or concrete, the tanks, to gain the weight. So we'll get them back in use and it will be a full, proper steam loco once again. And as the final piece of the work to be completed, some of the paintwork is not in the best condition. It's had a good amount of use here at Evesham. So the locomotive will be repainted into the original livery it was out shop with in 1970, which is lined Penryn black. And this obviously has a link to our current steam locomotive, Mad Bess, which is based, of course, on Blanche on the Festiniog Railway, and previously operated originally Blanche on the Penryn main line from the Penryn Quarry. So should look lovely, we think, in lined Penryn black. So there we have it. Welcome to the RLR fleet Dougal. We'd like to place on record our thanks to David, who's the owner here at the Valley Railway Adventure, and of course to Martin, the previous owner, for allowing us the opportunity to become Dougal's new custodians for a new chapter of Dougal's life at the RLR. Everyone at Evesham has been an absolute pleasure to deal with, has made it as easy as possible for us, and we're very grateful for all of the accommodation and help we've received from everybody involved with Evesham. We hope to see Dougal with us in about 6 months' time after completion of the conversion works. Hopefully get some more videos on our YouTube channel as the overhaul progresses. And needless to say, we can't wait to see Dougal steam on the RLR metals. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.